Hello, everyone. What's up? Leviathan News here on a Thursday, May 30th. What's up, everybody? Everybody, not everybody. Weekly panel here with the lovely Millie, my lovely co-host. How are you, kind sir?
I'm good, sir. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Always a pleasure. And we're joined again by another co-host. We can officially call you a co-host now, I think, Colin.
But you have to join 4 times to get the honor. Is that the deal?
I guess so. I guess so. Consider it confirmed. And really excited to have these two esteemed gentlemen on for a talk about some quite a week. To be honest, I wasn't as on top of things as I wanted to. I had all kinds of stuff I was trying to arrange. Yet seemed like at least a hectic week as usual, didn't it?
How we like them.
Is it more hectic than usual? I guess
No, as
honestly,
I'm saying,
time
as hectic.
goes so fast. It's hard to keep track of what was what when.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm saying that's what I'm saying. I'm saying as hectic, not more. But the usual hectic week with everything going on everywhere.
Frenetic.
Yeah. So, Millie, you were mentioning the ZK stuff at the
Yeah,
airdrop,
yeah,
and
that's today. That's
about it
just
that
happened.
weekend.
So,
Yeah.
actually, okay. Well, a little bit of background. So, it first
Yeah.
started when the ZK Sync team Matter Labs essentially they started they announced that they were going to do a token, but there was a little bit of stir up right before that announcement that or it might have been right after that they wanted to use the ticker ZK. And then I think there's this project already that has the ticker ZK, but it's not a ZK project. It's like Polyhydra or whatever, and it's
Yeah, I saw it, man. That was weird. Like, why did they take the ZK
yeah,
ticker?
I don't even know what the project is. It's like I'm not sure what it is, but I don't think it's a ZK project. But anyway, they took on that ticker, and so I guess Matter Labs wanted to use that ticker for their rollup ZK Sync, and
Yeah.
which actually like a lot of people didn't have issue with, right? So nobody on the timeline really had issue with that. They said they're going to use the ticker ZK, like Polyhydra or whatever, or I don't even know if I'm pronouncing that correctly, but whatever they were essentially upset, but nobody else really cared, really. And they're like, okay, they take that ticker. And then today, what turns out that just today came out, or it might have been last night, excuse me, that ZK Sync had filed trademarks in 9 countries for the ZK, to patent the ZK trademark. And so I think, okay, first of all, like the outrage is mostly coming from like the ZK sort of hardcore cryptographic community, like the actual like cryptography like community, like within, because like very little of what we build in blockchains these days is even cryptography related as much anymore. It's on like applications on top of chains, and even chains these days they have some cryptography, but like most of the new chains don't even touch cryptography. Like for example, like Solana doesn't have like they like even famously admit that they don't try to even like innovate in cryptography. They just use whatever is available, whatever systems are available, and sort of like try to scale like their metal boxes or whatever. But with like ZK, like the ZK landscape is one of the areas in blockchain that is actually very like cryptographic related. Like it's at the core of it is like this very complex like cryptography that goes into it, right? And so it's also very like nascent tech as well. But like the concept of ZK has been around like apparently since like the 80s. I'm not the most historically informed on this, but like apparently like the concept of ZK has been around for since the 80s. And so like that part of it is well established, like in like computer science and math and there's a lot of literature on that. So so now all of a sudden fast forward to today and ZK Sync has like this roll up that they're trying to create a token for and trying to call it ZK, like the ticker. Now they're going to also like try to trademark this like word zero knowledge, like this abbreviation for the word zero knowledge, which is like this long-standing academic term almost. And so like because it's commercialized now, like they're trying to trademark it. And I don't know. So I guess the timeline, like there's a lot of pushback, and most of the pushback is coming from that cryptographic community, right? Like this hardcore cryptography community. Like the founders of like Starkware, they're not just like blockchain builders. Like they have contributed to cryptography like significantly in the past. Like so like they have a lot of academic background in like that field, and so they're very offended, and so they're the most offended in this. And so essentially like ZK, and it kind of makes sense, right? Like if in the context of the ticker, when you look at it in the context of the ticker, it looks really bad because they're trying to take the ticker, which no one had an issue with. But now it's like they're trademarking such that no one else can use that ticker, and that's when it becomes an issue. So I think like, and they're saying that it's in the name of like protecting users from like someone else, misrepresenting ZK in the future. And some people are saying, well, like it would, there's bound to be some dishonest actor that eventually comes and tries to use that ticker and misappropriate it or trademark it in some like misappropriated way or whatever. And I don't know if I like agree with it, because I think there's a lot of historical examples of like math terms that haven't been hasn't happened to. Now, like I don't know, like I think trademarking the two letters in particular is kind of like I don't know that like that. Like I don't know how, I'm not I don't have a lot of background in trademark law or anything like or about that, but it does not seem intuitive to me that like you could patent like these two letters that are abbreviation for like a math term, right? And like trademark that as intellectual property. But I don't know, like so that's just I don't know. That's basically the sort of like the high level of what's going on. And there's a lot of drama on the timeline. I'm definitely in the camp that it doesn't make sense to be trademarking it, and especially in the context of how it's going on. And what their defense, what they're saying is that they want to trademark this defensively, and then they want to like onboard like the Ethereum Foundation's legal team or some very credibly neutral party to like uphold it or whatever. But I think like in the context of them trying to take the ticker, it doesn't look good because like it's like them taking the ticker and then trademarking, so no one else can use it. So like to me, it's not a good look at all. And they obviously offended like the worst people you could offend, who are like these OG cryptography people that like, they just like even Zcash is like been around forever. That uses zero knowledge proofs, right? So it's like I don't know, like it just doesn't make sense to like try to patent this. But I don't know. Anyway, that's
it's really weird.
I'll reserve judgment until they do the airdrop and we figure out what our wallets get.
Yeah. What's crazy is this probably delays that, right? So this whole drama probably delays that while they figure out what's happening. So
yeah, I saw something funny. Is like when all this was going on, I know Starkware, like of Starknet, came out and like I guess they have people on staff that invented some of the zero knowledge stuff. Apparently, that goes into it, or I don't know, something like that. But they were going back and forth between the Starkware guys and the ZK Sync guys, saying, "Okay, this is bad," blah 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 blah, and just generally fighting. And somebody dropped in there in typical inverse broth fashion, something where KuCoin changed the ticker of a token called Strike, which had STRK, about 1 month before they listed the Starknet token. So I just thought that was funny.
Man, it's kind of weird for them to like want the token, like for them on one side, like wanting to gather the community around them and like claim the ZK like term for the community, if I get it right, but also to have it as their own ticker. Isn't it kind of weird?
Yeah. I mean, I guess they're decentralized networks, so nobody owns them, right? So
yeah, like
claiming them for the community, they're claiming them for everyone that holds the token.
Yeah, like even if we like say that we should be like I don't know, like, and I don't think we should, by the way, like put any resources of any kind in like trying to trademark the term ZK. Like don't we have like better stuff to do? and then but also with that, now they want not only for the whole community to gather around the ZK term officially, but also to have it as their own like ticker. Or I don't know, maybe I'm not getting something, maybe I'm mixing stuff up.
I think we should have less fighting and more pumping of token prices.
So okay, just to be clear, I think what they're saying is they're trying to patent this term, and they're trying to have this patent essentially guard like that trademark. Like from their perspective, they want to like guard this trademark so that scammers can't come and take it. And so, and now we don't know. Like we can speculate if they're going to launch with that ticker. I think now they can't. Like after this, like it doesn't make sense to launch with a ticker. Like it would just be so bad if they stayed for them. But like in the context of launching with that ticker, what it would mean is that effectively no one else can use it. But like what they're saying is they're trying to make it so that a bad actor can't like take this term and misappropriate. But like it's not. I don't think it's
come on.
Is a real thing. Like how many like the idea that they're protecting people from essentially someone like defrauding users using that brand. Yeah. And like I think the odds of like even if it's not commercial, like the idea of ZK is not that like it's not proprietary in the way that like someone can like how are you going to really defraud someone with ZK? Like it doesn't make sense, right? Like you can misrepresent that your system uses ZK, but even if it's that term is trademarked, it still doesn't stop someone from saying that they're
what does it even mean like to trademark the
no, even like with that trademark, it doesn't stop a project. Like even let's say it's trademarked, you can't use that ticker. You can't use like those two letters and whatever your documentation. But it doesn't stop someone from misrepresenting that their project uses ZK proofs, even if it doesn't. Like and it doesn't use ZK proofs. You know what I'm saying? So it doesn't like even the trademark doesn't protect against what they're saying they want to protect. Like the only way it protects is their brand.
Exactly. The only thing it actually serves is like them holding the power and the ticker. And in my opinion, they're like wasting a lot of energy there. And like you said earlier, like I don't think it's necessarily the best look. Like they should have just first of all they should have like caught it first, the ticker or whatever, and like announce it first or whatever if they really wanted to. But also like they can just call their token sync. It's better. It will like you will know it's theirs at least because ZK is general, and like who's to say that ZK is only like I think they're like trying to set up the mindset of like ZK and ZK sync being like the same thing, but it's not. It's like ZK is a general thing and ZK sync is one aspect of it, like one expression of this technology.
I just want to point out that there are 2 sync tokens listed on CoinGecko and 0 ZK tokens listed on CoinGecko.
Classic.
Yeah, I mean it's obviously like to me it's like a land grab, right? Like they're trying to grab territory for themselves, but it's in bad taste. And I think like realistically, like to your point, this is so unnecessary. Like they should have just like launched the token and like dramatically, right, with no like politics attached. Like why it was just it's unnecessary bad press. But then again, like any publicity could be good publicity. So like maybe this like this drama like means that like they're relevant and they're trending when their token launches, I guess.
Good point there, really. Honestly.
Speaking of trending, like celebrity, just like the next thing, and then apparently Iggy's Azalea like started a revolution or whatever. Can you link that tweet? Have you seen that tweet?
Can you share it? I actually saw much more stuff about Caitlyn Jenner, but yeah, I started seeing like people talk about Iggy like everywhere. Iggy.
Yeah, Caitlyn Jenner. She actually launched another token apparently, and now it's on.
Now she has 2. Yeah, I saw that like she's some kind of tweet that she's moving from Solana to Ethereum or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean,
do you have some links there? Do you have some links maybe about?
Yeah, I'm looking for
Iggy
them
or-
right now. But like, I don't know. Does somebody want to give like the high level what's happening with this meme stuff? Because it's like actually ridiculous, but like it's in the name of people like are saying it's in the name of mass adoption, which is so ridiculous. Like, if you just think like they're basically saying that like scamming the celebrity scamming their followers is necessary for mass adoption, or it's like a stepping stone to mass
Yeah,
adoption. It's just,
No, I think the full story is just so much more bizarre than that. It was like this Caitlyn Jenner one that launched. When was it? Like last week or the beginning of this week? I don't even know. Days blend into each other. But like Caitlyn Jenner launched one with this dev based in India named Sahil. And apparently this dev's been like prolific in launching tokens on pump.fun and has not got a great reputation for it. And immediately dumped this thing like upon listing, and it's Caitlyn Jenner, and the thing shot up to, I don't know, a stupid market cap. But this dev dumped it for like 100 SOL or something. So it's like, okay, made a quick buck, but had they held on to what they had and not been an instant dumper, like would have stood to made a whole lot more money. And then after that, there was the whole thing with Iggy, because apparently Sahil talked to Iggy Azalea as well. And like, I guess
wait a
Iggy
minute.
wasn't
The
gonna
same
go
one
with
did it for
whatever.
Iggy? You mean the
Yeah.
same one did the token for Iggy?
I guess he like announced to people that he was going to work with Iggy Azalea, and then at the last minute, I guess Iggy Azalea's people pulled out, so that didn't happen. But he still launched the token, and so there's this confusion because at the same time, Iggy also launched the token. And then there was like the Rich the Kid and DAdvisoor guy. I don't know who they are, but apparently Ansem was on Spaces with them, and people are upset with him. I don't know what the full story is with all those, but like this chart up here are all of those tokens. I think there was more, but just the D-list celebrity tokens. And I guess
so
Sonia
one thing I was at the space where like Iggy was talking and someone was there, and it's just like, oh, like honestly, is Iggy herself seemed cool, but like it was just so obvious, like what was happening. Like if you look at the chart, and then there was even a Zach XBT thread that I'm looking for right now on it, where like you just see like a couple wallets buy up because she launched her token basically and didn't say anything about it. So the token was just out in the wild floating on chain for a while, and then she like 3 hours later she announced it. But then like obviously like people saw on chain like there's a few wallets that like sniped like 20% of the supply and started dumping it like after it pumped and she was on the space and everything. So it was just like it was just so obvious what was happening. And I think with Caitlyn Jenner it was like even worse because everyone thought at first it was AI or whatever, because like no one knew like what the hell. Like everyone assumed like this is AI, and to be fair, like the filter that she used looked weird as hell. Like it looked kind of like AI, it looks glitchy. And then she kept doing them and like went on the space and then like started defending it, like tweeting about it, like replying to people, and it was absolutely retarded. And then that's when to Colin's point, I think Iggy did it. But then actually between that, there was this rapper, Rich the Kid, who also did one, and like that's when the whole Sahil thing came out, where he's like, oh, this guy, he took my token, or he hacked me and he launched a token or something, and I have another token. All in one video. He's like, I have another token that's being launched, and it looks so, the video's so crazy and so like schemy, and he's like, just it's just retarded. And that's when like that Sahil guy or whatever, he was like, he had a bad name, so like Iggy tried to say she wasn't working with him, but then there was like a picture on her timeline that showed them together or whatever, like they were chilling together. So I don't even know what the hell like is really happening. But like what's obvious is that like the token she launched was like obviously bought up by insiders and then sold for like, like a multiple like 20-30x or whatever. So it's just like obvious like whatever was happening there. And then like I guess there's a lot of now I haven't stopped keeping track, but there's like a bunch of D-list celebs like doing this now too. And obviously like none other than Ansem is like the one promoting all this and saying that it's in the name of adoption and mass adoption and all that.
Oh my god.
It really feels like, I mean, we had a ton of this kind of stuff during like the NFT hype in 21, right? Like before the FTX collapse. Remember, it seemed like every other week somebody like famous was talking about Bored Apes or something.
Exactly.
Yeah, I feel like
all the NBA stars kept buying. The NBA stars started buying these, and you started seeing like commercials to FTX to a different degree, like, you know what I mean? Steph Curry, Shaquille O'Neal.
It's either the start of something that just blows off the top from here, or it's the end of it. I don't know.
Honestly, actually, what I'll mention is if we remember last cycle, there was a bunch of this leading up to a bull run too. Like, I remember when when NFTs before they took off, there were a little bit of buzz after DeFi summer. And there was a little bit of buzz in the winter, like of 2021.
Yeah.
And at that time, like if you remember, Mark Cuban was doing these NFT stuff, and like Lindsay Lohan came out and did this weird NFT stuff, and like a couple other celebrities that came out and did some like weird cringe stuff. It was like these really weird, like, and again, it was kind of similar, like these D-list celebrities doing this shit. And I think even actually Soldier Boy did it too, and like this sort of carried on throughout like the whole bull market. So like this happened like all throughout. And I honestly, if you look at the chart, like it's not surprising, right? Like prices are at all-time highs. So like it's not surprising that we kind of see this. And honestly, it's not that scale yet. I think like what's way more interesting actually is like Donald Trump talking about crypto recently, and like him and Elon Musk apparently just met like today or something, and for Elon to like advise Donald Trump on his
Dogecoin will be the legal tender of the United States of America. You heard it here.
Yeah, exactly. Doge will be legal tender. I don't know, man. I feel like that is way more interesting thing to keep an eye on than the celebrity meme coin nonsense that's happening. But and then again, I don't know how long until Trump launches his meme coin. So I don't know. If he launches,
maybe it depends on the election.
Win meme coin. Like if he wins, he's not going to have time for meme coin. Other people will launch them. If he doesn't win, there'll be a meme coin.
That's a good point. Yeah.
You saw, like, I guess this week that there was some speculation that apparently Biden understood that like being anti-crypto wasn't a great idea either, and has started to try to figure out in his own Bowden way of how to do it. So, I mean, I think both of them are old tools, but like it's good to see that at least there's some recognition that crypto is a losing issue if you're against it.
Yeah,
I think in all cases we won. Like that's the important thing.
Yeah, well, I don't think we should party and celebrate too early.
Yeah, exactly.
I think we should.
Yeah, always an option, actually. Yeah, you're right.
You know what? I think before anything happens, I think just the hype of like this is what's going to fuel the bull run. I think once anything, like the moment they try to enact any policy, that's when everything gets messy and ugly, and like that's when it's a disaster. But like the lead up where it's like everyone's saying, yeah, we're pro crypto, this and that. Like once it comes to time for them to act, I'm not sure like we might get favorable outcomes either way. We probably do get some favorable outcomes, right? But like
which is why we should party early.
I think the hype is going to be in like the lead up to like whoever gets elected is going to have pro crypto. And so like I feel like any like the election time is going to be a lot of volatility. But I feel like that little period from between the election and like once the inauguration happens, that like few months, I feel like that few months is like a really interesting time to keep an eye on. First of all, like when we lead up into elections, there's always some sell-off on the markets and whatever. So like because of like the unknown of like like you don't know who's going to get elected, because there's this little bit of like real-time uncertainty that's on a very big significant scale. Like there's always some volatility, some like sell-off into the election. And then I think that little period after election for crypto specifically, it should be like a very, very, very nice sweet spot, because like we already have a current administration that's anti-crypto, and they're starting to have like a pro-crypto attitude. No matter what, it's not going to get worse than RDS. We already had the worst of it, basically, past version from Gensler, right? It's not going to get worse. Like the FTX situation, like it can't get worse than that politically. Like the political like hot mess of crypto can't really get worse, I don't think, for even with the current administration. But on the other side, like if we do get like a Trump presidency, like there'll be all this speculation of, oh, when he gets into office, this is gonna happen, that, and like that alone will just like I think will fuel like some crazy rally. So like I don't know, this might I'm not definitely not financial advice or anything, but like I'm just saying like I feel like that's an interesting time to keep an eye on what's happening, because like and then by the time they actually come to actually enact any policy, I think that's when uncertainty will come in again. And I don't know if we'll get a good like outcome necessarily from Trump. He definitely seems like he's going to be favorable, especially now that he's gotten all this money from NFTs and shit. But like there's certain topics that are just like they're outside of like the political hot debate. Like they're just like more sort of agenda behind the scenes reasons, like unknown to the public as to why their motives are. So like mainly to protect certain institutions, protect certain incumbents. So there's certain aspects of it that I think would probably wouldn't matter either or. But like, you know, I think that little area, like when we're leading up to the election, like all that, the fact that like both sides are like pandering to crypto, that is going to be like, that's the hype part, right? So yeah, I don't know.
I think to me, like I think the win is a bit more subtle. I think that just like it was very clearly that like at current time, if they don't do anything positive, like I don't think that's that big a deal. It's just that they stop doing negative stuff because they see it doesn't win votes. I think is important. Like there aren't a ton of people that are voting that hate crypto, and I think that's extremely positive. Maybe a bit nihilist, but like there's what 4 academics that just absolutely spend all their time hating on crypto in the US, and that's kind of it. Like other than that, people are just ambivalent to it or they like it. So I think overall that will trickle down to a number of other things, and whether that happens in other places will be important to see. But then it's kind of back in our court of like we need to prove that we can build things that are more just celebrity meme coins, but like other things that kind of add value so that people continue to not hate us. Like crypto right now is in a better spot than AI, I guess is my point. Like people legitimately hate AI because they're afraid of it.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
Also, like AI, like took most of the spotlight from crypto, and I think we mostly benefited from it.
Yeah, took the heat off. Let's keep that. Let's keep
like,
on with AI so they can take all the shit.
Well, in fairness, like crypto doesn't threaten the everyday person whatsoever. Like it hardly affects the everyday person at all. It's really a threat to like incumbents, institutions, anyone who has a foothold in fintech, anyone who has a really big foothold in like entrenched financial actors. Any like you know what? Actually, the West is not even that affected. It's like the like countries where they have unstable economies are the most affected by crypto because it penetrates those areas and like it gives people access to it gives them an avenue for capital flight, and that's a problem for these economies. Like the problem is that like the currencies are unstable because there's so much corruption behind it, and then when people try to exit all the time, like it creates an even bigger problem for them. So those like areas are even more problematic. But like whereas AI, like it actually affects like the everyday person way more than it does the institutions. Like the institutions benefit a lot from AI, whereas the everyday person, like their job might, like they're worried, oh, my job might go out, I might go out of a job or whatever. And so like for them, it's a much more like personal issue than like crypto, where it's like, oh, like whatever, some person they know near that might have got rich off it, or like they hear all these scams about it. Otherwise, it's like doesn't affect their daily lives at all, really. And so like there is that too, right? Like where it's like realistically, that is a much more political issue for the average person, I guess, too.
Yeah, but you know, politics tend to stick bigger knives in things that are less important than that as well.
Yeah, unfortunately.
But you know, it's such a huge. I think the more I think of it, like an election year, like when they say the market is going in like cycles and it's 4-year cycles, is it basically because of the election cycles? Like, is it basically the same thing?
Well, I think it's the Olympics.
Well, the Olympics coming up they're this summer, but I think realistically, it's the cycles in crypto, like they're originated from the Bitcoin halving cycles. But like I don't think in traditional finance they don't have a lot of cycles on it. They don't like those. They think like cycles are not really a great thing. They don't. Actually, I might be wrong there, but like generally, like the cycle is like much more macro. They look at macro cycles on a bigger scale. But like I think so they don't really like they don't want like this cyclicalness of crypto is not necessarily a good thing. Like TradFi probably wouldn't like this. They like slow and steady up and to the right S&P 500 type price action. So like the idea of like, oh, like there's a cycle and then there's like they prefer less of those. At least that's the way I interpret it. But I think for crypto, it mainly originated from the concept of cycles, like the Bitcoin halving cycle, which is really short 4-year cycles. But like there is election cycles too, right? Like those do affect markets. And but I think in TradFi, usually when they're talking about cycles, they generally mean like long macro timeframes, like recession, like or whatever, like the recession periods, like high growth periods, stuff like that, or whatever.
Yeah, for sure. There are levels to this, but I think that. By the way, you know what? It also makes me think. Like, why did Satoshi decide to actually do it like in 4 years, like an election? Like
that we'll never know.
Like, was it on purpose? You know what I mean?
I'm sure Bitcoin Talk has speculation.
Yeah. Like he's definitely, I think he has a bunch of posts on it. Like we probably could dig it up and like come up with an idea of why. But realistically, like it's pretty much just an arbitrary number, probably.
Who knows? Who knows? But yeah, honestly, this I think that in the last 2 or 3 weeks or something like that, the intersection of crypto and politics have become definitely like completely different from what I used to like think of it as before, or like a better word to say is like to see it on the timeline, because in the last few weeks I think that really it became an issue for pretty much everyone. Like even some people that never want to discuss politics under any circumstances, it's like the opposing stance, the original opposing stances of the two sides, and the fact that like really only one side like pulled into the direction of like what most of us that are just in the industry like tend to prefer. I really think it switched, like the narrative has completely shifted, and it can only be like a political response. Like nothing else can happen as quickly as a political response of a leading party that gets some kind of a signal that the audience wants something different. And it was quite fascinating to actually to see how the tide of shift. Like just like 2 weeks ago, people were like, "Yeah, no way, there's ever like an ETF is coming," and that stuff. And like, look at us now in another dimension.
I think there were pockets that said the ETF is coming, but like, yeah, you're right. The broader narrative was just getting so bearish on it. I personally had no opinion on it from the beginning. Like, I probably said, I think I said on this, or maybe not on this show, or maybe on the Daily Show. I came on and I said, like, to me, the ETF is not even part of my bull thesis for ETH. Like, it was never supposed to be part of it. It is like a bullish catalyst at this point, but I never really thought of it. Like, I feel like, crypto, you could buy it if you really want to. Like, it's just so easy to buy these days, especially Bitcoin and ETH. But like, I do admit that like it does, like when you have the market forces of an ETF are definitely bullish, because you have these asset managers that are just like they're basically promoting they're promoting the asset so that they could get AUM, so they could charge fees on it. So like they're incentivized to constantly like get people to buy this asset, right? So like for them, it's and because it's like self custody of crypto is difficult, they could charge probably higher fees than they could for most other things, right? So like I think for them, it's like this huge thing, that financial like motivating factor to offer these ETFs. And there were a few people that said like, hey, like BlackRock is 500 and whatever and one in against the SEC when it comes to ETF filings, and like they seem very confident. So like there seems to be like, for whatever reason, there will be an ETF. But then there was just like so much doomerism, and it was partially fueled by the fact that the SEC was going after all these DeFi protocols, right? Like going after Consensus, going after Uniswap Labs, going after what was the other one they're on? Right, they're always going after Coinbase, obviously, and so, yeah, and so on and whatever. Right? So like because a few of these dropped like right recently, like people were rightfully thinking that it was looking bleak. But like for me, it didn't affect me. I faded it completely. My bags were getting cooked like the whole time, and I just like faded it. And then all of a sudden one day I'm doing a space, and like I see the timeline go nuts about their approval.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden my bags recovered. My Aave health factor is back to healthy again. So like I know. For me, I kind of like. I feel like a lot of this macro stuff gets out of is out of our hands. So I don't know. I try not to think about it, but if you positioned well, I guess and you knew what you were doing, like you could have definitely made like it was a good opportunity there, like overnight almost. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
man.
think there's another key thing in what you said there, like there's whatever you want to call it, like more positivity coming out of Washington or people playing in politics, and then seeing the ETH ETF is like, I guess, a sign in that direction. But like, there's still ongoing investigations with Consensus and with Uniswap, and like DeFi and crypto is far from safe, and like that game I think isn't over, even if there's positivity in like ETH the asset.
Yeah, that's a good point. And actually, like another thing I would say, like that little period, like if Trump gets elected, I think it would almost certainly be the most bullish for DeFi in particular, specifically because of how like just like the because like the SEC is such a political entity. Like there's 2 Republicans and 3 Democrats there, and surely like administration change is going to ruffle some feathers there. And so I think like just that like if Trump is elected and we see a shakeup at the SEC, so like that right there is probably the most bullish for DeFi in particular, which has been suffering the most from Gensler's like reign of terror over the past few years. And if you remember, like DeFi really got cooked after the summer of 2021. And that was like all the legacy DeFi protocols, which most of them actually to right now are all profitable and sustaining. Like most of those DeFi protocols, like the OG DeFi protocols, are one way or another sustaining rather effectively, right? And they have real revenues and stuff, so they're fulfilling like they're fulfilling their purpose of like existing even under pressure. But I think like it would be a huge tailwind for them, like if there's administration change, probably more so than anything else, right? Like part of the reason like these like DeFi has been like doing so poorly is because of this like this administration's like pure targeting of DeFi, right? Versus like meme coins or like infrastructure coins. Like they're going specifically mostly after DeFi stuff. So like I think if there is an administration change, I feel like that would be the sector to really want to like be I know this is financial advice, bro, like everyone whoever's watching, but like that's a sector you want to keep an eye on. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, but and on that point though, I think like because the other thing that was people were talking about 2 weeks ago, I guess it was FIT 21 or FIT 21. Like the CFTC isn't better. Like people live in this delusion that like it's only Gary Gensler that's bad. Like the CFTC sued UkiDAO, Open, 0x, like everything DeFi.
Matcha as well, no?
Yeah, Matcha. Like everything DeFi got hit by the CFTC. Like they're not angels.
I don't know if you guys saw the show that we had this week with Sam and Alex Glubitsky. Sam really went off about FIT 21. He's saying that it's horrible. Like he's saying that it's a much bigger threat to DeFi, to actually, just like Colin mentioned here, to be regulated by the CFTC, and that I don't remember the exact like expression, like how did they call it, but like in order to get like this specific license that you have, in order to like to actually be an exchange for commodities or something like that, it's like something that is very impossible for a DeFi entity, and it's actually like the way he explained it, it's pretty great for like centralized entities, but for DeFi, it creates a lot of issues.
Yeah, I saw that episode. Actually, I was watching it, and it was insightful. I think the point that Sam was really trying to drive was that like the CFTC doesn't really have interest over spot commodities that much, right? Like they don't like their interests are in the futures of those products and derivatives of those products, and they do to the extent that like I think your guest was saying, to the extent that the spot assets are manipulated to affect these futures markets. To that extent, they care. But aside from that, like it's out of their jurisdiction. So like,
it's a good
and there is no like real entity that has jurisdiction over commodities. Like they're just this global thing that exists. Like, you know, it's a free market for gold, right? Now, somewhat like I mean, so I think the physical trade of gold for fiat is somewhat regulated, and just like crypto is regulated at centralized exchanges, right? Aside from that, like there's really nothing, right? And so like this bill is like introducing this very bearish regulation onto for no reason, right? That didn't exist before. And also aside from that, it creates like this registration, highly centralized registration regime, which from I've heard from a few sources, the only way it could possibly scale and work would be if it was sort of given one license to a big actor in the space, like maybe a Coinbase, and then allowing Coinbase to issue, sub licenses under that to applications that sort of want to launch under their into like a Coinbase app store, for example, or whatever. And they're sort of like in this sandbox environment where they could operate under the like basically under the supervision of Coinbase, to so to speak. And I'm obviously no lawyer, but like that's essentially what how they're saying. And it makes sense if you think about it intuitively. Like that's probably the only way you could get like through like thousands of applications legitimately, right? And so like I think like it obviously creates this very centralized like force for no reason whatsoever, right? So yeah, I'm also like I don't think that bill makes sense whatsoever, and that's what I mean. Like when the time comes to actually have bills, it's not clear that like we're gonna get really good favorable regulation. I think like the talk of it is a lot better. Like in this case, the bark is a lot better for the industry than the bite. The actual time when it comes to actually act on this stuff is probably going to be very messy. And I think like right now, like the hype of like everyone pandering to crypto is a lot more positive than the actual whoever comes to actually enact policy, because that part is going to be really messy. All these different interests involved. Like and behind Fit21 or whatever is mainly Coinbase and A16Z, right? Like these are the two entities that are really driving it, and like, you know, I don't know. So like there's a lot of speculation as to like whether their incentives align with everyone else's or whatever, and in the industry. So like I think in a broad sense, like realistically, any time that comes to regulation, there's going to be competing interests even within the industry, and that's going to have like this very messy impact, in my opinion. And so it's not going to be very smooth on that side. But like I definitely think like at least like the positive tone is definitely like has a better effect.
Yeah, the sentiment
I think
I think there's a lot of awareness as well. What are you saying, Colin?
I said I think the future of France meme is going to come true, and everybody's going to have to leave the US.
Well, hopefully not. I mean, you know what? Realistically, like I always said like the US is not a good place to like think, because like first of all, the US has really strict financial regulation, right? Like of all the places in the world, like it was the last one to have Bitcoin ETF. Like Canada's had both Bitcoin and ETH ETFs since like 2021 or 2020, and like Bitcoin, like the US just got a Bitcoin ETF. So like and like most of Europe has these Bitcoin ETFs. Singapore has it. Like and the United States is always the most strict on this stuff, so it's always the toughest place to be able to do this anyway. And I think I don't know, like it's always been a tough sell to like do it in the States. And I feel like this big push from Coinbase and A16Z is like to like try and keep it. I feel like their intentions might be good, but like it's also self-serving at the same time. And like I don't know, like and at the same time, man, honestly, the European laws aren't that great either. Like if you think about it philosophically, even though the US is more financial products are heavily regulated, money is less regulated in the US than it is in Europe. Like Europe, money, like physical, like trade in money is highly regulated. Like I think like anything over like 3K euros is like considered like a large financial transaction and needs to be reported.
Oh,
yeah, like it's crazy. Like they're very
like Israel, basically. It sounds.
Yeah, so that must be very strict too, because like 3K is very like if you think about after inflation, 3K. What can you get with 3K that like, you know, like if you want to do some renovations in like in your house, you can't even like 3K probably barely covers like a paint, like, you know, like getting your apartment painted or whatever. So I think it's like in theory, I would think that like Europe is probably going to be even more strict with a lot of this DeFi stuff. It's just that they don't know how to go about it yet. But at the same time, the US is just like this
Going
big,
after Alexei,
yeah, they were way more strict with Alexei, like way more, right? And for no reason. He wasn't even the founder of Tornado Cash. He wasn't even the founder. The founder is in the US, and he's getting treated much better, much more just at the moment than Alexei was. So it's like the Europe is, in my opinion, probably more. It's going to be more strict in the long run, probably on this stuff. So it's going to be interesting to see how all this plays out. But it's definitely a very big political topic now, all over the world.
I think it's a big testament to how much of a huge impact crypto actually has, because it's like you can't really regulate something that new with your existing instruments, and crypto is such a paradigm shifter that it kind of challenges the very entities that are right now trying to enforce their power on it. And I think that we're going to work this struggle for decades, to be honest, because I think that it's going to be a long process of ups and downs in which what is society willing to accept and when. Because when as more and more people become aware of what can be done on DeFi, funds will slowly find decentralized paths, I believe, even if the legislation and regulation on many places will be very, very strict in crypto. I find it hard to believe that young devs will stop innovating new ways around it,
Hopefully they don't.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I don't know. When I talk to some of the ambitious, young builders out there, I really think that nothing can stop actual progress, and nothing can stop smart people, actually smart people. And true, yeah, they can catch one, they can catch a few, they can hold us back, but the industry will come through at the end. I'm pretty sure. Despite whether we're gonna get the worst treatment or the best treatment, I think that in the long run, it makes me mostly feel like that the old world it doesn't have a chance, honestly. Not a real one.
Beautifully said.
That's sure, but really, I don't know. By the way, guys, what are some other interesting stuff that maybe you've noticed this week, and I for sure haven't? Any interesting DeFi stuff that you guys have noticed?
Well, one thing, it's not DeFi, but it just developed today, was the SEC asked ETF issuers to get their S1 forms in by tomorrow. So.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so things are speeding up there on that front. Let me show you the thing. Actually, the link that I'm going to share is from Zero Hedge, which usually isn't the best news source, but then it's also been confirmed from a few other news outlets too. I just can't find those ones. I just don't have it right on hand. But
let me screen share it just a second.
Yeah, I mean, I think DeFi is very quiet right now.
Yeah, people are waiting to see what moves, what comes first. But
there's a lot of DeFi protocols are cooking, though. I'll say that.
Yeah,
a lot of them are cooking. There's a lot of interesting stuff that's coming up. I think in this year we have a few interesting things. We have Liquidity V2 coming out, and we also have Uniswap V4 coming out, which is going to be very interesting as well. So I think
those are the two biggest things that can happen in DeFi. Will shake the earth.
Yeah, two big.
These
are two of the most forked DeFi protocols, most forked protocols in all DeFi. So it's definitely going to have like tailwind effects when these launch for sure.
Interesting, actually. Interesting. I'm actually very much looking forward to Tapioca DAO that's coming. Should be coming really soon, actually.
Oh, true. Yeah, I saw their audits are coming along. Friends over at Hats are doing an audit for them.
Yeah, it should really be like happening soon. Been hearing some stuff there, and I'm following it. And I think that the Tap LBP is coming. In my opinion, it's happening in June. I'm not sure when, but I think it's happening. I actually, I thought it would be in May, so don't really trust my opinion. But I actually think that I really think it's happening in June this time. And I'm very excited about it because it's a very like horizontally built like project. It covers like a lot of features, like a few protocols wrapped into one.
I've honestly not dug through it too much. I just know a lot of people talk about it. So at one point before it launches, I will definitely look into it.
So yeah.
But by the way, guys, what's going to be different? Like maybe if you can just share like in a few words, like with Uni V4, like what's the big? Because it sounds big, but like how big is it? Yeah,
What's like the big thing, right?
If you have to explain that to someone that really has a very minimal understanding of stuff, such as myself, like what's the big deal and
okay, I can give a really quick one
because
I got to drop off in a minute, but I give you a really quick one. So basically, the main things from Uniswap V4 are that the pools are all in one contract now. So Balancer actually used to do this, but it's a singleton contract where all the funds for everyone, the whole protocol is going to be one single contract. And so that saves a lot on gas efficiency for the protocol. And so it's going to be a lot more gas efficient. Uniswap V4, that's one main unlock. The second thing is the fees, the protocol no longer sets a fee because each pool can have its depending, and it's not even pools anymore. It's like all the liquidities in one like contract. And in order to tap into liquidity, that liquidity, the liquidity providers have to opt into a hook. A hook is just like this construct that allows people to sort of create some liquidity curve, essentially, like to trade on some curve, and basically with some fee. And so like when the liquidity provider opts into a hook, it like opts into this logic of that hook. And so like there could be hundreds of hooks, like many different types of hooks. Some hooks that price differently. Some hooks have a static price. Some hooks have a dynamic price. Some like these pools are going to have like be a lot more flexible in how they could charge the flow that comes through. So it's going to have like serious impacts on like the efficiency of like the LP providers. And so it's a lot of interesting stuff. Like I guess we got to kind of see it play out in the wild, but those are like the main like things that it enables. And I might be missing like one or two things. But
I think that's a good summary. I mean, personally, what I'm super excited about on the hook stuff is like it allows people to put in kind of arbitrary logic that's very different to do. So that can be like setting fees or improving like your LP experience, but it could also be doing accounting so liquidity mining obviously was a big driver in 2020 and is still like a big thing. So you can do that more efficiently. But hey, when you're in there, you could also do something like on-chain volatility mining. Like that would be really, really cool, of allowing a project to distribute tokens based off of who's trading various tokens through Uniswap. And having things like hooks allows all kinds of crazy stuff like that.
Yeah, that's a good point. There's a lot of stuff that magic that can happen with these hooks. Just gotta wait and see. And
you could do things like putting the funds into something like Aave while they're sitting there waiting, and you only pull them in certain things. Like
so basically, there's like no pools anymore. Basically,
it's like one big pool with logic dealing with that pool.
Cool, man. And when is it coming? Like it's coming 2024? 2024, so trademark?
Yeah.
Great. Man, excited. Okay, guys, I know you have to bounce. Thank you so much for your time. And again, apologies for the delay. Anything else you want to add before I wrap this up?
Enjoy your trip. I hear you have a big trip soon.
Yeah.
Where are you going?
I'm actually flying tonight. In a few hours, I will head to the airport. I'm going to Belgrade, and
nice.
hope to make some content for Leviathan there. Will be my first time in Belgrade actually, and in Serbia, and also my first time at a crypto conference. So I'm actually very excited about it. Thought about it for a while. Took me a while to make sure to take the decision officially, but I did this week. Ordered the ticket. I didn't even tell the guys. But here now I'm telling the guys and the audience, really gonna try to get some interesting convos from there and interviews from the people there. Hopefully, gonna be fun and exciting, and maybe even we'll be honored to have the next Thursday panel with you guys from there. It will be just the day before I get back. I'm going for a week. I think it's a whole blockchain week there, by the way, but I'm going specifically mostly to ETH Belgrade, although I wanted to get there earlier. And of course, guys, follow Millie, Lama on the Brink, Colin G, Plat, and Liquidity, of course, Synthetics. You know how to follow with these guys. Let's get serious. And guys, we're Leviathan News. Check us out on Twitter, X, TG, of course. Come and join. Try to earn some squid by submitting headlines. And of course, check out the new Substack that we have now, the Tentacle. On Leviathan News, definitely recommend. I think Sam, as usual, is doing an amazing job as a writer as well. I think he's brilliant at it, to be honest. So shout out Sam, great work with the new Leviathan Substack, sorry. And guys, thanks a lot for coming, and thanks everyone for tuning in. Have a great weekend, and talk to you from Belgrade tomorrow.
Belgrade.
Amen. Bye, guys. Thanks a lot for coming. Bye.